Welcome, Spartans, to Halo Headlines for the week of the 8th to 15th of November 2021, a part of Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I am your host, Aaron, and with me today we've got David.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to another Halo Headlines. Before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to all of our patrons and thank them for their continued support. You guys help make everything possible. We've been doing some giveaways and a few things, and a lot of that's been thanks to the Patreon guys and their monies. They allow us to do things like giveaways and post stuff to people without having to pay for it ourselves, which is great.
That's very nice. It's a nice perk.
Yes, there's lots of little things we get to do now that we used to have to pay for ourselves, and it's just been great. If you would like to become a patron and see what rewards are available to you guys, you can go to patreon.com/Halo Podcast Evolve to learn more. And with that, David's going to take us through some of the news. Nothing exciting has happened as we record this. Absolutely not a thing.
I mean, what else did we expect after, 20 years of Xbox? It's just too much. Too much, really. 20 years of Halo, 20 years of Xbox. Holy shit, they launched the multiplayer. Fucking hell. The mad bastards. This is such a ballsy move. This is obvious. If you're listening to this show, you're probably already aware of this. Go get yourself your Xbox. Go get yourself Halo Infinite multiplayer for free. You don't need Game Pass. Go get it. It's ridiculous. As of recording, I've seen that they already have the highest ever Microsoft game on Steam, and they've like 162,000 concurrents, which is crazy. But that's fantastic. Like, well done. Ballsy move. There was rumors of it happening, so if they didn't do anything, people would have been super bummed. I was surprised by that 20 years of how fast that was. Like, they literally launched, did a few different bits that were kind of cool. They announced a documentary that was interesting, and then they dropped this, Halo multiplayer, holy shit. A little bit of tease of the TV show, which was actually, to be honest, disgustingly pointless. The back of a head of the actor who plays Master Chief, Paolo, putting his helmet on, and then you have Jen Taylor's voice as Cortana. But that's it. And it was confirmed to the date. That's supposed that they're saying Paramount Plus 2022. I don't know what that means for us, Aaron. Where does Paramount Plus stuff come?
I feel like it's either going to be Netflix or Amazon, and there seems to be no logic to it, because when it comes to like the Star Treks, some of them are on Amazon, some of them are on Netflix, and it's all kind of over the show. Because I think like Discovery's on Netflix, but Picard's on fucking Amazon Prime for some reason. I have no idea. Knowing my luck, it'll be on Sky, and then I'll have to just pay for a new subscription.
I wonder, are the Paramount people just divvying up show by show and letting people bid on it, and whoever gets the highest bid gets the show?
Yeah, when it comes to American things, it seems to just be whoever bids the highest over here gets it, so I'll be waiting to see. But yeah, it was a slow, small tease of a tease of a tease. I was hoping for slightly more when
Same.
Pablo tweeted out about it and was like, oh, maybe we're going to see something. I was like, oh, we literally saw him put the suit on, and that was it. But still, if it's coming next year, they didn't give us like a time of year, so I'm guessing the rumours of late next year are probably true. They were talking about like next autumn. But apart from that, super hyped to go play multiplayer after we record all this. That is at the stage we are now in. None of us believed this was going to happen. We were absolutely convinced people were being tricked, and like it was all overhyped, folks, and it was never going to be true. And then they did it, and now we're like, oh, fuck, it was true. We're going to go and play it straight after this. I'm itching to go.
Yeah. There was a few other things that happened the last week or so. Some of them are interesting and kind of worthy of note. Big Phil talks to GQ. So IGN did an article that links to another article by GQ magazine. So I went on and had a quick read of this. It's a massive article. It seems pretty interesting, but there's a small little quote that says from Phil Spencer himself. It's near the very start. He says, regarding talking about Halo Infinite, I don't like how we did it. I don't like that we showed the game, talked about it launching at the launch of the consoles, and then within a month we had moved it. So that's what respective to like that. He says it wasn't really any kind of malice. It was literally they were hopeful. They were so hopeful they could do it, but they weren't being realistic to themselves. Is really what is the way he worded it. It goes on a bit more of the article, and there's a bit more, a couple of quotes here and there, and then it says, this is taken from the GQ article. Developer 343 has made clear that Craig was one of the factors in gaining some more time to finish work and get Brutes to a place where the team is happy with them. This is one of the many positive examples of 343 working when aligning with the Halo community around expectations. Which is a really, really nice way to say that all the Craig memes were obviously used as a force of good in kind of, okay, look at how bad this looks, holy shit. We can't launch a game like this, which is good, because now we're getting it now, and it's going to be dope. Aaron, I hardly think you got a chance to look at this, but that's literally it. There's nothing really else Halo related. It seems like it might be an interesting interview because there's Todd Howard in there and a whole bunch of people, but I'll get to it later, I think.
Yeah, I did actually just read it could have been the IGN article I read that just had that little quote. And I think it sounds like they were sort of in denial about the state of the game and weren't willing to accept reality, and they thought, no, we're going to get this done. And then when the memes sprung up, it was like, oh shit, we really aren't going to get this done in time. But hopefully it's a good learning experience for them to be like, no, you need to realistically look at this and say, we don't have the time to get this done, and then hopefully they won't have this situation again with another game. You think of something like a Fable or whatever, and you don't want them to be in that state again where they're announcing a game and then like a week or two later going, actually,
yeah, not happening.
Yeah, we're delaying it. Yeah, I suppose it's handy, or it's easy enough to look back now and go, yeah, we were lying to ourselves if we thought it was going to be ready. But oh well, it seems to have paid off.
Exactly. There was another IGN first. This time it was a campaign breakdown. So they did some multiplayer reveals, some multiplayer maps and stuff. But their campaign breakdown was actually really very good. I highly recommend everyone go read this. It will absolutely get you hyped for Halo. There's tons of info just about like pretty much completely spoiler free. So I recommend it, of just like how the game kind of functions, how it works, some of the tone pieces. I kind of chopped out a few of my choice quotes. So Miranda Sanchez over there did a lovely job, actually. Very, very interesting first review. It starts off, and the tagline is pretty much, most of our concerns about Master Chief's long-awaited spiritual reboot melted away after a 4-hour hands-on, which is brilliant, because that's the way you want to start. Because there was a lot of people that were not happy with Halo 5. So as you can imagine, they have concerns on the campaign. She says, Chief seems real tired, sad even. He's a man of few words, but his movements in the cutscenes in response to those who need him are heavier than I've seen before, which is really interesting. That's a nice take on Chief that follows on from Halo 4, essentially, is what you'd expect, a sad, bummed out Chief. So I'm intrigued to see how this goes. She says, that being said, I don't imagine Halo Infinite is going to be a real great starting point for new people to the franchise. If you're listening to this, you're not a new people. Even if there's some sort of catch-up video on the story, by far the best moments that she saw in Halo were the first few hours that rely on prior knowledge of the series, which is excellent. She says, I don't like the idea of people being left behind, but I selfishly prefer this game is made by returning Halo fans rather than tuning the game to accommodate new players. She says, familiar or not, the game is awesome and to play and explore, which is great. That's exactly what you want. I really like that focus on the story, that you'll get rewarded coming in as a returning player. That made me very excited. The fact that that's how they're gearing it, as opposed to Halo 5 where they wanted everybody off fresh. She says, cleared bases convert to instant fast travel points. They earn you Valor. Valor is a currency, essentially, as a way, like a point system. I kind of thought of it almost like building up like rec points almost, because it sounds like with higher Valor, the bases give you access to better weapons and vehicles. So early on you get basic weapons and Marines that can be summoned to a base depending on how much Valor you have. Eventually you can earn enough Valor to call in Scorpions, rocket launchers and heavy gear. That sounds dope. She says all this is completely optional, but I love the idea of it, that your progress through the campaign is earning you something that is used to like unlock things throughout like an open world, like an unlockable system. It sounds interesting. I like how they worded it.
Yeah, I was curious to know how that was going to work, because otherwise I wondered what was to stop you summoning a mantis for every mission. But if you have to go and earn the currency to get the mantis, then that kind of makes sense.
I think that's fine. That seems to be how, at least early game, how they're going to like segregate you out from the rest of the segments.
Yeah, you see, well, the other thing was I wondered, was it like that? Or when I sort of read it, the other question I had was, is it just like the total amount of Valor you have unlocks the next like level of things and then you have so many available?
Yeah, it didn't seem like it's a spendable currency.
Because that when I'm sort of describing it the first time, I thought I'm describing it a little like a spendable currency, but she did say like it wasn't something that could be done as a microtransaction, I think she said.
Yeah, just none of that.
It's more like your top XP level unlocks more equipment, but then I assume there will be like another limit to maybe each forward base only has a certain number of things and they need time to cool down or whatever.
Yeah, there has to be a way to stop you spamming it.
Yes, otherwise you're eventually when you get to co-op, it's going to be 4 scorpions in every mission and just see what happens.
Yeah. She mentioned when looking for skulls, there's a new scanner tool, but the way she described it sounds like Halo 5's Argus, where you're just pinging an area and it shows you the rough location of something you're looking for. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know what they call that, but it sounds to me that that's what they're going with again. She says there's loads of collectibles, they're all audio logs returning, which is pretty cool. Banished audio logs and other inhabitants of the ring, which is interesting to what else that would be. But that's kind of cool anyway. They fill out some of the gaps in Halo Infinite story, which I kind of like. She says we kind of had seen this already, but like how leveling up kind of works, that each of the 5 equipment options, so it's grapple shock, shield core, threat sensor, drop wall, and thruster, can be upgraded with a collectible item called Spartan cores. Each one makes it slightly more powerful. Upgrades can add things like a shock and a stun when you're hit by grapple, or maybe a second charge for thruster. So I like this. This sounds really cool. These are all, of course, campaign only, which sounds pretty dope. And she says shield Spartan cores are pretty easy enough to come by. And again, totally optional to just make the game kind of interesting. I like how these sound. And she confirmed the boss fights are old school boss fights, complete with health bars, shields, and a distinct boss area that you fight in. They unlock weapons as well as large points of valor, which is pretty interesting. She described overall the game, it's closer to an Arkham game than she had mentioned previously, Red Dead or Breath of the Wild. She said it's not like those games. It is more like Arkham with large areas to explore that are linking to others, which is pretty damn dope because I think that's probably the best of what you need for an open world with a Halo game. You need to control it. It can't just be a massive open world. I think you lose too much there. So this, like, there's loads more in that article. Like I said, these are just the highlights of things that I cropped out that might be worth talking to Aaron about. Aaron, did anything jump out at you? Anything else I didn't mention here, or anything you'd like to comment on the stuff that we've seen?
Kind of thinking off it, yeah, the Arkham thing probably gave me the best immediate idea of what this is going to be. Like, I assumed there had to be some way to limit you, otherwise as soon as you get a wasp, you could go wherever the hell you wanted. So the idea that it's that sort of areas joined together and the areas are open and you transit between them, like that makes sense. Kind of, like they said, semi-open world. Apart from that, everything I read, like you said, got me pretty excited for it. There didn't seem to be any downsides, and like the IGN guys I know on Unlocked, it can be a little bit, I'm not going to say negative, but like critical of Halo since 5, so to hear that they're like excited about it fills me with confidence going forward. Apart from that, no, I was really excited about it. This next one, I'm just going to say it here because people need to know, the Game Informer preview has a bit of a spoiler, not a big spoiler, but a bit of a spoiler. I read now, there's 2 things to point out. There is a written article that mentions the spoiler, and apparently then there's a 40-minute video that goes more in-depth on said spoiler. It is basically something setup related. The best I will tell you is it is vaguely hinted at in the original pilot trailer, and that's all I'm going to say. But if you want to go in completely pure and fresh, I would maybe avoid the Game Informer stuff for now.
You read it, did you?
I read the preview, and I was flicking through it going like, oh, this all seems interesting, and then there was this one line, and I went, oh, that's a thing I could have maybe done without knowing. And then Tom watched the video and got back to me and was like, yeah, no, they talk about it more in the video. I was like, oh, brilliant. Also, stay away from Twitter, because I do believe Tom got another spoiler dropped on Twitter by a nice, delightful person.
I will say the community's been pretty great, so thank you very much, guys. Everyone pretty much called this out pretty quickly, so I managed to avoid it. I kind of don't want to know what they're saying. I thought the way IGN's article was done was perfect, and I'm happy enough with that. So I'm going to leave off the game radar. So read at your will, guys. Aaron, I imagine, is it comparable to the IGN one with content? in terms of like how the game plays and weapons and whatnot.
Yeah, pretty similar for everything else. That said, if you read the IGN one and watch their video, I'd say you're pretty solid for the two of them.
Perfecto. And the last piece of news I have here is that the UNSC Archives, this is a series that is continuing on YouTube. It's called Lightbringers. These are YouTube videos, essentially. Each one has to do with a system regarding the Mjolnir armor. So we've had one for the shields, we've had one for the grapple shot, and this one has to do with the actual material that the Mjolnir is made out of, a specific type of ore. There's way more information in the blurb about the video than like what the video actually is. So the video is a bunch of miners who are in a collapsed mine, and a bloke starts to sing, and everybody joins into the song. The song is kind of eerie, and it's obviously he's trying to like motivate them a little bit and keep their spirits up, because they're in here to get the ore, obviously, to get it out for the armor, and the mine is partially collapsed. I think the world they're on might be under attack by Covenant, I'm not 100% sure. But that's kind of it, and then someone kind of rocks kind of break through, and I think you're supposed to think it's the cave collapsing, but it looks like daylight comes through, so I think they're being rescued and the ore successfully taken away to be turned into Mjolnir. That's kind of it. It wasn't particularly crazy. I preferred the other ones up to now. That's kind of it, guys. That's pretty much, I think that's enough news, I think, for you guys.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. That will do us all for this week. This episode will be going out pretty quick, so I think if the live news is out, we are changing this weekend's show from a Halo Infinite preview to a live show to talk about the multiplayer, so keep an eye out on our social feeds, and you should see some information about that soon. If you've enjoyed this episode and were unaware, please go and check out our website, halopodcastevolved.com. It features links to all of your favourite shows. We've got Podcast Evolved, Mission Debrief, Halo Book Club, and Builds with Blocks. Also, go and check out our partners Josh and Will over at HCS Pro Talk. I'd imagine it's currently like Christmas over there as they download the multiplayer and get ready to go. Their next episode is probably going to be ridiculously jam-packed, so do go over and have a listen to them. Once again, another shout out to all of our patrons. Thank you very much for supporting us and helping make everything possible. Head over to patreon.com/Halo Podcast Evolved to learn more. And with that, I have been your host, Aaron, and until next time, Evolved.
Evolved.